We receive a complaint from people in Benguet, and I talked to you earlier about this. There's a saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sa Benguet, we've been complaining about high power rates. Ang Benguet ata ang may pinakamababang power rates at 8 pesos. Tama? And wala po silang brown out. Now, the NEA is a touch agency ng DOE, right? Okay. Paanong nangyari na bakit yung NIA nakikialam sa pamamalakad ng Benguet Electric Cooperative at naglagay ng sarili nilang tao, manager, general manager? Ngayon, nagkakalituhan na doon kung sino talaga ang general manager, yung bang ibinoto ng mga board of directors ng NIA o itong isiningit ng NIA na siya maging general manager. Siguro po, sa susunod na lang po, pakisagot yan. That has to be answered. Kasi dito po sa Committee on Energy, ito po sa Enerhiya, I'm used to receiving problems in my radio program, One This Radio for 20 years. Usually, isa lang po yung biktima. Magreklamo yung biktima and then I find solutions by talking to different people who can contribute in giving solutions to a problem. But dito pala sa Energy, ang nagreklamo, biktima, yung consumer, and then yung nireklamo, meron ding reklamo tulad nitong sa Benguet Electric Cooperative. And maging yung mga taga-LGU, I received complaints. In fact, a few days ago, may nagbisita sa akin sa office ko, mga taga-LGU from Nueva Vizcaya, I think Isia, who also were complaining about high power rates, etc. So, yun lang po siguro. On our next hearing, maybe you can come up with some answers to this suggestions and questions. Okay?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, just on that topic, no, because you
Go ahead.
opened up
Senator.
that topic, I actually filed a resolution to investigate that issue of Beneco
Beneco, yes.
because it defies common sense that the board has a certain level of autonomy to select its own management, but then again, Metro Manila send its own GM to run that cooperative.
Yes.
So what's the purpose of the board if that is the case? No? The board under the law is given certain amount of autonomy to choose whoever they want for their best interest. But in this particular case, as what you mentioned, Beneco is a well-run cooperative, one of the lowest power rates, a AAA green
Yes.
cooperative. Then Metro Manila, here in NEA, sent their own GM to take over the electric cooperative. The end result, nagkagulo doon. Nagkaroon ng barilan, nagkaroon ng commotion, and that's not the intention. You don't rock the boat when it's not there's no problem in it. No? So
Yes.
I support the message of our chairman to look into that, Mr. Secretary, because that will set a bad precedent to all well-managed cooperative, and we don't want that. We want the cooperatives to be well-managed on their own, and NEA will just step in if ever the cooperative is ailing and not performing. No? And that's under the law.
Thank you, Senator Win Gatchalian. And lastly, Mr. Secretary, I don't know if you are the right person that I should be saying this to. Siguro sa next hearing, please do due diligence. Alamin kung sino-sino ang mga politiko, ang mga nagmamayari o kamag-anak nito mga electric cooperatives sa iba't ibang probinsya. Sila kasi ang dahilan ng sakit sa ulo kung bakit nagkakaroon ng brownout. Kapag nagreklamo yung taong bayan, pupunta sa kanila. Walang ginagawang aksyon ng mga kooperatiba dahil ang kanilang padrino ay mga matataas na opisyales ng probinsya. So, kung pwede, sabihin nyo sa amin kung sino-sino itong mga politikong ito para mapakiusapan natin o kung ano man yung pwedeng gawin in aid of legislation to investigate kung ito bang ginagawa nilang nangyari is something that has to be stopped.
the long term, kailangan natin itulak, thank you, Mr. Chairman, itulak natin yung ating renewable energy mix. Why? Because unfortunately, with due respect to my dear friend Secretary Cusi, we did not really push hard enough in the last administration for RE. We need to see that this administration with our boss, President Bongbong Marcos, is pushing for RE. Maybe we have to increase feed-in tariff. Maybe we have to increase the opportunities for the players, new players to come in because it's been very prohibitive for them. Let us prioritize RE na, Secretary, and to the ERC. Prioritize na natin yan. Libre ang hangin, libre ang tubig, libre ang init ng araw, libre ng lakas ng kuryente sa dagat, yung currents. We can utilize that, fully utilize that, and we will not have to depend on oil and coal. So just your thoughts, Mr. Secretary, and how we can, in the short term, bring down the rates of these electric cooperatives that are so prohibitive. Maawa po tayo sa taong bayan, Secretary. Napakamahal. Diyan sa kanila sa Mindoro, sobrang mahal ng kuryente. Secretary.
Mr. Secretary, you have 2 minutes to answer, please.
Thank you, Mr.
Shorten
Chairman.
Make it brief.
So, I will, Mr. Chairman. We share the hopes and the vision of the Senate President. But as I pointed out, because of the particular generation mix that we have, there is no, shall we call it, magic wand to change things overnight. But the hard work must start now. And I think the President's vision is not for a promise for overnight changes, but that the structural changes, including in IPIRA, the missing portion on the reform of the electric cooperatives, the missing portions on strengthening processes and structures in the Energy Regulatory Commission, and in promoting competition, including how the Philippine Competition Commission can come in. But the start that the President did was precisely to address the need for a level playing field, and that he wants the Energy Regulatory Commission to be able to deal with all investors in a fair way, because that's the only way that investors are going to come in.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Go ahead.
Last 10 seconds
Second-
lang,
Senator
Mr.
Bediri.
Chairman. I forgot to raise the issue also of WESM. Mindanao has no WESM. We have no spot market in Mindanao. Matagal na pangako ni Secretary Cusian. I know his biggest frustration was Transco. So, and interconnectivity between Mindanao, Visayas, and Luzon. Alam mo, sobra-sobra yung power generation namin sa Mindanao. We cannot export. We have a surplus, but yet the prices are 16 to 18 pesos. How can that be? That we have a surplus of power in Mindanao, and yet our rates are so high. Kasi wala po tayong WESM market. And maybe it's time under your leadership na ituloy po natin yung WESM ng Mindanao. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Senate President Mig Subiri. Senator De La Rosa, go ahead, Senator De La Rosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not a question. Wala po ko itatanong sa inyo. Ako lang po yung makikiusap sa inyo. Kayo na ngayon dyan sa regulating agency pagdating sa power. I just hope na mabawasan natin yung mga household doon sa Mindanao na walong kuryente dahil napuputulan, dahil hindi nakabayad, dahil very high talaga ang cost ng energy natin. Sana tulungan natin yung ating mga kababayan na magkakuryente uli dahil masyado talagang mahal, napuputulan na sila. Yun lang, Mr. Chairman, ang pag-iusap ko. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Senator Bato de la Rosa. I share your sentiments. As a matter of fact, later on, I would also add to that. For now, is there anybody else from among my colleagues who would like to ask questions?
Mr. Chairman, just a follow-up. Because
Go ahead, Senator
I
JB.
just filed a bill on yung comprehensive master plan for infrastructure development. That includes transpo and also energy. That's the reason why I asked. So that we can go into the right direction, we would know that what energy sources that the DOE can recommend. Probably Mr. Chairman, you can have this on another hearing to discuss this extensively.
Yes.
Kasi nangyayari sa atin, kung ano yung administrasyon, na current administration, they're just focused on the legacy. Dapat magkaroon tayo ng long-term planning that includes energy for the next 50 to 100 years. Kaya sana, I'm hoping that if you can submit probably in the next hearing, what energy sources that you would recommend that we can include in the comprehensive master plan that we are currently drafting right now. No? President BBM made mention. I know it's controversial, but probably nuclear and other sources of energy that will bring the cost down. So, yun na po, Mr. Secretary. Probably we can also in the next probably can already supply us or discuss with us, no, yung mga new sources of energy that we can include in the comprehensive master plan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Chairman.
I would like to recognize Senator P. Antiveros.
That's my sister, Mr. Chairman.
Ay, sorry. Lisa, I apologize.
Okay lang po, bilang
Take
si
that out of
Chair
the record.
ay dating batikang
Baka
broadcaster din.
nakita ko ni Mr. Chairman, kaya
Okay.
naghalo yung pangalan natin.
Yes. All right.
Either that's
as I saw,
Senpia or
Senator Pia.
naalala ni Chair yung kanilang dating colleague sa broadcasting, ang kapatid
I apologize for that.
Tokayo ni Senpia. Okay lang po, Chair. Secretary, I noticed po when you were telling the committee about a vision of a low-carbon future, when you were talking about the shift to a hybrid system, may binanggit po kayong iba't ibang klaseng mga renewable energies at iba pang alternative sources of energy. But hindi nyo binanggit explicitly ang nuclear energy. And as someone who became an activist as a teenager in high school on the issue of a nuclear-free Philippines, curious po ako kung anong, at least initially, thoughts ninyo tungkol sa nuclear energy sa Pilipinas. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
But before you answer that, Mr. Secretary, thank you, Senator Antiveros, for that. And before you answer her queries, Secretary Rutilla, I would like to let everybody know that we can now be open on a working lunch so that alam ko, iba sa inyo gutom na, pwede nang kumain. Baka meron sa inyo dyan diabetic, baka tumaas o bumaba yung sugar. Let's eat. At the same time, we'll do our job. Go ahead. Okay. Go ahead, Secretary Rutilla, you may answer that
Thank you,
question.
Chair. I've always taken the position that we should not ban technologies, but we should set standards. The Philippines has been the earliest supporter of the peaceful uses of nuclear power, going back to President Garcia and all the other previous presidents. So, in this particular case and in the case of the other technologies, we need to put the regulatory and policy framework. And that's what we would have to work with you on. So the bills on the downstream natural gas, which eventually will feed into hydrogen, and so on. So we will work with you as these become mature. The other is offshore wind that the World Bank has also brought up. The potential is enormous, but we need to have the regulatory framework in place for all of this.
For summer, everyone will be up in their toes trying to guess if we will have electricity or not. So my question is, in the next 6 months, and also extending it to the next 12 months, because that will reach the summer, will we have red alerts and yellow alerts? And then number 2 question, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I know also that you have information regarding this type of occurrences. What is your outlook on the price of oil in the next 6 months? Because the price of oil, based on your presentation, directly impacts fuel cost in our country. So right now, it's hovering around $90 per barrel. But are you looking at a much higher price of international prices, much lower, or a constant price? Because that will also have impact on the way we craft the budget for next year. If we will include Banta with Pasada as a shock absorber for our transport group. So 2 questions: power outlook and also pricing outlook on global oil.
Thank you, Senator Gatchalian. You may answer, Secretary Lutillo.
Thank you,
Please.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Vice Chair Senator Win. On the red alerts and yellow alerts, it's actually the price rather than supply that has been accounting for the alerts. Because there's a secondary price cap that the Energy Regulatory Commission imposed. I forgot how many, more than a decade. Is it more than a decade now? Yeah, 10 years ago. But personally, I'm not against that. I am against the secondary price cap for reasons that I will have an opportunity to explain to you in the future. But the right now, we have for next 6 months, the cooler months, we have enough reserves. So hopefully, no major breakdowns of plants. But summer months, I have to tell you that I'm beginning to have also not only I'm not going to say nightmares, but concerns about that, and we will do our best precisely to address the stranded power out there